Dave Angeloni, and welcome to We All Have Shit, the only bi-weekly podcast that tries to take an honest look at what ails us and moves us forward into the lives we lead. Our show can be accessed through our YouTube channel, the We All Have Shit podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the WAHS podcast channel to not miss an episode and ring that bell to get notifications. We will conduct our show with comfort, realism, and sensitivity. We'll do our best to be brief, to the point, and real. Anything that might be difficult for us is on the table. We're all human, and we all have things in common. Moreover, we are created to exist in a social context and to help each other as best we can. This will not be a bitch fest, nor a complaint zone, nor a place for negativity. Rather, we will strive to maintain positivity and enthusiasm during the challenges we face, because life is here and life is now. Finally, while I may have been a trained and experienced professional counselor in a past life, this is not me now, and this is not our show. This will not be a glorified pop culture counseling session. Rather, we'll simply do our best to shed some light on our troubles, talk about how we're dealing with them, and hopefully make some positive contributions to the world around us. So, thank you all for joining us here today. I am with a good friend of mine, an old friend of mine named Justin. Justin, welcome to the show. And tell us, please, what is your shit?
Well, good morning, Dave. My stuff is a struggle with a monster called cancer. I am a 4-time cancer survivor. 07, I was diagnosed with testicular cancer.
Okay.
In 23, it came back with a vengeance. It then moved into my lymph nodes, and in that whole process, while I was dealing with that, I was also diagnosed with prostate cancer.
God damn.
So all last year actually, was tests, surgeries, chemotherapy, and radiation in 1 year.
God damn. So, interruption. Okay. So you and I know each other really well.
Yes.
And I know some of the details about your treatments and, your health concerns with the cancer. I didn't realize, and this is honest, 07 to 23.
Clean.
So that went away for quite a long time.
Yes.
So when you got diagnosed in 23, that must have been a head spin.
Yes.
Friggin' A.
That was a shock, because men my age at that point did not get testicular cancer a second time.
Yeah.
It was a 1 in a million.
1 in a million.
1 in a million.
So testicular cancer and
Stage 1 the first time.
Stage 1.
Stage 2 because it spread the second time.
Wow.
And then it went into my lymph nodes.
In your lymph nodes.
And the whole time I was testing for a PSA, which is a prostate test.
Okay.
And that was bouncing around way too much. It was getting high.
What do you mean bouncing around? Okay.
Bouncing around, it would be normal,
Okay.
then it would be high, and then it would go back to normal, and then it was a little bit above normal, but we couldn't do anything because at that point I was in chemotherapy.
So usually, and not having had cancer myself, and a lot of our listeners haven't either, some of course have, so forgive the questions if they're a little stupid. So you said bouncing around. So a lot of times, do most people that have a diagnosis like that bounce around like that, or is it kind of stable, your levels?
Your levels are usually below 0.4.
Below 0.4?
Before it is normal. I was jumping around from 3.2 to 5.2, back down under to 6.
Wow.
And I finally, after I was done with chemotherapy, which we will get into later.
Yeah, okay.
I went for a biopsy, and sure enough,
it was there.
It was there. So that
must like the feeling underneath that? Of course, there's worry.
There's worry there. There's also worry about the other cancer, which I
Yeah.
also had
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
same
yeah.
exact time. And was told that you probably don't have prostate cancer because you have a form of seminoma, which is a testicular cancer that has now spread into the lymph nodes in your chest,
God damn.
which you do need to go to chemotherapy for.
Okay. And to this point in your treatments and diagnoses, to this point, you hadn't gone through chemo.
No, just surgeries.
Just surgeries.
Surgeries.
And medications.
No medication.
No meds, okay.
No meds. Surgery in '07, and then tests, multiple tests for the first 5 years. And then once a year after that, it was blood work. It was a CT scan and blood work 4 times a year for 5 years.
Wow.
And after that, then it was, for the next 2, it was 1 CT scan and blood work twice a year. And then after 7 years, it was just blood work.
So it's, even though we gave the dates there in the beginning of this thing, I asked you for the dates. It had been a while.
Yes.
All along, you were still going for the blood work and the
Once a
testing
year,
and
I went
stuff
to,
like that.
I have gone to the doctors.
Okay.
I go to, twice a year, every year. I have multiple doctors.
Yeah.
So I was seeing 2 at that time, my family physician
Okay.
and my oncologist.
Okay. Okay.
And the second time around, I started noticing things that were, I was like, this looks too familiar to me. So I had to call up my family physician and, can I go for an ultrasound?
What do you mean too familiar?
It was a familiar feeling of the second time was just like the first.
I see.
It's not normal. The symptoms were all the same.
Okay. Okay.
So I had to go see my I called my physician's office, and they set me up with an ultrasound that afternoon. And the next morning, I got 4 phone calls.
When medical stuff moves quickly,
It moves.
you know something's up.
When you go for blood work
Yeah.
or some kind of test,
Yeah.
and you have an appointment
Yeah.
4 weeks later with your doctor, and
Yeah.
you don't hear from your doctor, that means nothing's wrong.
Exactly.
People worry.
Yeah.
When you go for work that morning at 8:00, and by 3:30,
Oh,
your
my
phone is blowing up with
Yeah.
doctor phone calls. That's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And most people, a lot of us go for blood work for this or that, routine stuff, whatever.
Why hasn't the doctor called me? Why am I not hearing?
You're probably
I'm not-
okay.
Because there's nothing wrong with
There's
you.
nothing
Because
wrong.
you're normal.
You
There's
got
not-
it. You
it's
got
when
it.
you get a phone call the next day or that same day,
Something's up.
and you get a phone call from your oncologist, and it's what the
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that's my phone call
Yeah.
from my oncologist.
So
That's what they said.
So the medical community gets a lot of guff in society about the involvement maybe with them and patients and things like that. But you're dead on. I agree with
You're
that
not
100%.
sick.
You're
There's
not.
nothing
You're
wrong-
okay.
There's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
They're sick people. They
Yeah.
have to take care of them.
Right. When I got, and I said this in an earlier episode, when I got the MS thing, my doctor called me. It was like after 4:30 on a Friday. I'm like,
Well,
who's that on my
Yeah, but the problem is you went for all the tests Friday morning.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Yes. So kudos to the medical community.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So not to interrupt you. So yeah, head spin. You got re-diagnosed and you found out that it spread
Right.
now. So
I
like,
found out it spread from a CT scan.
wow.
That I had lesions
Okay.
on the lymph nodes in my chest.
Damn.
Nothing to do with the lungs, nothing
Yeah.
to do with the heart,
Yeah.
the lymph nodes. So then I had to go for a biopsy.
And that hadn't
What-
been there before. so-
Wasn't there before. And
Yeah.
then once the biopsy came back, sure enough.
Yeah.
Then after that, I went to see the oncologist again.
Okay.
Then I was back in surgery. They put in a chemotherapy port
Okay.
in your chest,
Right there.
right here. And that was last May.
So the time in
The time
between is like that. It
Yeah,
was
time is
quick.
that fast. Yeah, you don't even get that. You can't even think. You're like what? Like I got the chemo port went in on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Monday, I'm in chemotherapy.
So it's not like they say, well, Jay,
No, you got to.
Justin, yeah, we have here's your situation. You say, what are my options? You didn't have that.
Oh, I had options. I just know my options.
Is that or nothing?
Is that or not? Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, some people want to. Did you go to Philly? Did you?
Yeah.
No, I don't need more options.
Yeah.
I know my options.
Was that
Like,
serious?
I don't want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a difference. I wanted to live.
I
Okay.
don't want to be comfortable.
I
wanted to live. That's a mouthful.
Right.
Because if you want it to be comfortable, there's different ways you could handle it.
Yeah.
Right?
Comfort wasn't one of them.
So right then, you knew in your mind,
I had made the decision. I had made the decision.
let's go.
I choose life.
I'm getting the chemo.
Okay.
I'm
getting there to do the chemotherapy. Then I'm going to go. I knew at that point right there, I probably have prostate cancer all at the same time.
Yeah.
But we're going to take care of the seminoma and the lymph nodes first,
Okay.
and then we will get the prostate.
Wow.
The lymph nodes will kill you. The prostate will take a very long time.
Lymph nodes are more.
But yeah, they
serious.
start spreading. They're much more serious.
So, and apologies for this. So we're friends, so I can interrupt you from time to time. So again, forgive my ignorance. So how percentage-wise, or you're not a doctor, I don't believe, right? But
No.
percentage-wise,
My father was.
yeah. From your point of view, percentage-wise, how many people would you say have multiple forms of cancer or cancer in different places at the same time?
I had 3.
Like, have you
I don't
gotten
know.
that information from people?
No, it's rare.
It's rare. It's really rare. Okay.
It's rare. I was told 1 in a million. With
Yeah.
everything that happened.
And it's spreading.
And
That's
it
your
was
thing.
spreading through my body.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Lymph nodes,
Testicular, prostate.
and the prostate. And you're how old at the time?
The first time I had cancer?
Yeah.
37.
37. And now
I was 54,
54. Okay.
55
Okay.
with both of those.
And you got the
The
port
sec-
now.
The port was last year.
Okay.
That's out.
Just
That's
last year.
Yeah, they took the port out of me. I made them take it out.
I'm laughing here because Justin and I know each other pretty well, and Justin has a healthy opinion of himself. We'll say that. But
Thanks, David.
yeah, no problem. But given his health situation and circumstances with this, that's a blessing. Because if he didn't have that, he'd be in a different spot right now, maybe.
I'm still here because I'm a knucklehead.
You're still here because you're a knucklehead.
That is the truth.
And that's okay. That's a sensitive way to say
That's
that,
the
but
truth.
it's the
I'm
truth.
because I'm just
Yeah.
got a hard head.
Yeah. So you had the chemo,
Right.
And that was just a year or so ago.
That was last summer.
Last summer.
A couple months. It's only April.
Ugly, huh?
Ugly.
Ugly.
More than I was worse
Yeah.
than I could ever imagine.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that we both know that have had cancer and gone through chemo.
Right.
And I have not, and you have, and that is an uphill battle, and it's ugly,
It's ugly.
like you said.
It's ugly all summer when it's 90 degrees
Ugh.
outside and everybody's outside
Yeah.
enjoying the beautiful weather.
Uh-huh.
I am downstairs where it's dark and cold because the sunlight bothered me. Really, I couldn't even go outside. The sunlight bothered me, made me nauseous.
Wow.
The heat is even worse.
Really?
I had to go to the darkest, coldest place in the house, and that's where I stayed.
Constantly.
Constantly.
Okay, so just a simple feeling, just having that absence from
Sick.
sunlight.
Right. Sick,
Yeah.
like you can't sleep at all.
How about your diet? Were you hungry?
Oh,
at
I
all?
may be one of the only people that actually put weight on during chemotherapy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I started craving sugar.
Okay.
I was eating ice cream, not gonna lie.
Uh,
Tubs of it.
That's all right. That's
Sorry,
all right.
do what you gotta do. Body went into survival mode.
All right. That's my biggest
Well, you
vice.
can't taste anything.
Okay.
Your teeth hurt, you have headaches, you barely stand up. Besides the fact that when you look in the mirror you don't recognize yourself.
You're like, where did you go?
What happened?
Yeah.
So it's a humbling experience on
All right.
top of everything else. Unfortunately, there's times you wish that the Grim Reaper would come knocking on the door
I'll
because
bet.
it was time.
I'll bet.
You wanted to go.
Yeah.
You can only fight,
Yeah.
but then you got to put your fist in the ground and get back up.
Choose life.
Choose life.
Same
Choose life.
mentality. Same thing. You just said that a minute ago in a different circumstance with the same health concern, of course. But yeah, so that notion of choose life. Like I don't want things to be easy. I'd rather choose life as hard as it is. As hard as it's gonna be. I choose life.
Choose to live.
So that was a freaking struggle all last summer,
All last summer.
and you got through it.
All fall. It wasn't. I mean,
Fall.
I did 4 rounds of chemotherapy,
4.
5 days in a row,
Oh my God.
5 hours a day.
Wow.
And then I would be off for 3 weeks.
Okay.
And you start feeling a little bad. The 3 weeks are so you can recoup.
Okay.
By the 3rd week, by maybe like the middle of that 3rd week, going into weekend, I said, I'm starting to feel. But then you're back in.
A little back to normal.
Well, no,
a little
but
bit.
A little bit better where you can actually function. Like
Okay.
I would go, I could get in my car.
Yeah, yeah.
I could go, maybe go get something to eat.
Yeah.
You could function a little bit. But
Okay.
then you're right back into chemotherapy again.
Okay.
And it's 5 days. And by the end of the 5 days, you're back to square one again.
So it's that
It's an
big,
up and down. It's a big wave.
Yeah.
But each round, it gets progressively worse.
Wow. So you have to have that inherent desire to keep going.
To put your fist
And
back
live.
when you're down, to put your claws back into earth and do that first scratch to pull yourself back up.
All of our listeners who are cancer survivors, nothing but respect. Like, I mean, that is beautifully articulated. And I mean that. That's beautifully articulated, JB, because that needs to happen, Justin, right? With anybody that's going through a challenge like this, you got to have that mentality and that spirit, right, within you to do it, right? So that just, where do you think that came from? What's the origin of that? Like, what gave you that kind of mentality and, like, strength to go through and have that spirit?
Okay. I know the answer to that one.
Okay.
A long time ago,
Okay.
me, your brother,
Okay.
and 2 other friends
Okay.
were in a horrific car accident.
Okay.
And I was the one that took the brunt,
Uh-huh.
took the big shot, in the coma, woke up. I don't know, that kind of
Yeah.
toughened me up a little bit as
Okay.
a 19-year-old kid.
19-year-old kid,
Kid.
car accident with my brother. I remember.
Your brother.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say the other. I'm not gonna say
Yeah,
the
it's
other,
all
but
right.
there was 2 other
It's
guys
all right.
who were all best friends to
Yeah.
this day.
Yeah.
That toughened me up.
Where were you sitting in the vehicle?
Backseat, passenger side. That's where the car hit us.
Okay. And you got the brunt of it.
Took a good shot.
Okay,
From
so
a car.
at 19,
Right.
you were in a pretty bad car accident.
Yes.
And that sort of, and you survived
I
that,
survived
obviously. But that gave you,
Yeah, it toughened
Mentality.
me. That toughened me up.
okay. And at 19, it's quicker to recover than.
Yeah, you can bounce.
It
back.
is.
You can get hit by the car and bounce
At
back.
our age, yeah.
In 2 weeks.
Oh,
But it mentally
God.
toughened me up.
Okay, so in a sense, then, without something like that happening, it may not have, given you the strength to get through this diagnosis.
Maybe
Is that
not.
it?
I don't know.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. I
Who
don't
knows,
know.
right?
No, I don't know. I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
But
And at the time, that's funny, right? And like all of us will have bad things happen to us. Like, oh God, like, right, woe is me, and why
Yeah,
did this
woe
happen
is
to
me,
me?
woe
But
is me.
yeah, but then you get older and you go through other things. You're like, you know what? If that didn't happen to me,
maybe I wouldn't have survived this.
maybe that's. All right. Justin, thank you so much. All right, so last thing I want to touch on with you is what kind of treatments would you say help you the most? Treatments, practices, lifestyles, like what do you do? Because like we talked before we started recording here today, you might present to the outside world, if they didn't know you or know your circumstance, you might present like everything's okay. That guy walking down the street right there, cool. What's like, you know what I mean? Not even give you a second thought. Like, what do you do day to day to help, you maintain this positivity? What do you think?
Okay. Let's see.
Okay.
We'll go back to the last round of chemotherapy.
Okay.
A month later,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing I did
Yeah.
was get out of bed
Yeah.
and crawl back into a gym.
Go to a gym.
Go to a gym, start working out,
Yeah.
start getting myself mentally
Yeah.
I know I had one more battle. I still had prostate cancer.
Yeah.
So I figured if I get back in the gym, and I actually went back in early September.
Okay.
I decided that my birthday, my 56th birthday, was a good day to start back up.
I like it. I like it.
Get the warrior mentality back
Yeah,
into
yeah.
my brain. And I knew that I still had prostate.
Uh-huh.
I already known that I had cancer because I had went for the biopsy in August. We did that. So get back in the gym, start working out, start making yourself stronger again.
And that was a different kind of workout at that point, I imagine.
Yeah, it wasn't
because you were
No, I was
a lot weaker,
I
right?
was tons.
So right, where you might have been before
where
that,
I should have been was nowhere near where I was.
but you were there.
I was there.
You were there.
Started
Yeah.
there. I started there, and no hair,
Yeah.
no eyebrows,
Yep.
no nothing.
Yeah.
Big old. Anybody who went through chemo is going to laugh at this one.
Yeah.
I had the chemo belly.
And those of you that might not know Justin, a chemo belly or any kind of belly on a guy like Justin is like, damn, what happened? Because he doesn't.
There's an actual term. It's called the chemo belly.
Okay.
It's an actual term. I had to Google it. So I figured if I start getting back into shape now, I'm getting stronger again.
Yeah.
Because I did go for radiation through the holidays.
Okay.
And I figured I can get there, I can get my strength back, and then I can get radiation.
Okay.
Fortunately for me, by the time I went through radiation, I had just gone through chemotherapy. Radiation's tough, but it's not chemotherapy.
Chemo's worse.
Chemo's the worst
And
thing.
radiation.
So I
Okay.
went through radiation. That wasn't fun. That was through Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Happy
So,
holidays.
Merry
Yeah,
Christmas,
yeah,
Happy New Year,
yeah.
Happy Holidays, Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Just tired all the time, sleeping a lot.
Yeah.
But I tried to get to the gym a couple times, and I got there every morning early. Then I would go through radiation. I'd go to work. I'd come home and fall asleep. That
Gym in the morning, radiation treatment, work,
back home, sleep,
And that-
repeat.
wash, rinse, repeat.
26 straight days.
Damn. So that is quite a schedule, and I imagine there's probably a lot of days went by. You look yourself in the mirror like, what am I doing? Like, what's the point here, right? But other days you look at yourself like, keep going.
Keep
You
going.
got this.
You got this. Keep
You
going.
got this.
Well, there's days you cry.
Yeah, sure.
There's days you cry. The days you look in the mirror, you don't recognize yourself.
Mm.
And then there's days you just stand up,
Yeah.
grab your sword,
Yeah.
and let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
Go into battle with a shield, your sword. You don't walk around, but
Yeah.
you need a warrior mentality
You need a warrior
to
mentality.
get through that.
I can't imagine how you might do something like that without
Yeah.
a warrior mentality. You got to have that.
Right.
Okay.
And now,
Yeah.
here comes all the good news.
Okay, man.
The last couple of weeks,
Okay.
I've went for a PET scan,
Yeah.
multiple blood tests, and that was 2 weeks ago, and every single one came back normal.
Awesome.
And you know what I haven't gotten yet?
What?
I'll give you a guess. What hasn't happened yet?
What?
No phone call from a doctor.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a callback to our earlier point in our conversation.
So you know what that means.
That phone's
I got
nice and
no
quiet.
phone calls. Because I was waiting. I'm looking at the phone. I'm sitting there at work going, it's 3:30.
Because you're going for these tests to check on the status, right?
Right, yeah.
And the doctor didn't call you, so you're like, It's nice and quiet.
It's nice and quiet. I'm
Let's
like,
go,
waiting,
man.
like, there's no phone calls from the doctor.
I love it.
No, I have appointments at the end
Yeah.
of the month, but they're not calling.
I love it. And let me. So you had said like during the treatments, how bad you were feeling,
Right.
and then how good you started to feel. Once you started getting better, you're going to the gym. You have a routine.
Right.
You and I got together for lunch one day in the fall.
Right.
We went for lunch. We went for like a burger or
Yeah,
whatever.
I was still
downtown.
in the middle of it.
Okay. Well, let me say this. We went to this fantastic burger place, Chef Von and Mom. Okay, there's the plug.
That's a good plug.
Fantastic
Chef
burgers.
Von and Mom.
Justin-
Try it out on Linden Street.
Fantastic place. But I like to consider myself as having a pretty good appetite. But this guy sitting across from me right now, Justin, that day at least, ravenous appetite. Ate like a Viking. This big burger with all crap on it. Like just imagine it, right? It was fantastic. He ate it in like minutes. And we were talking, of course, about his treatments, right? Mm-hmm. How you're feeling. He was saying how hard things were, but he's feeling a little better now. And he was whacking that burger like no man's business. So you were feeling okay that day.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still eat like that.
That's good, right?
Yes.
That's good. You have a healthy appetite.
Yes.
You're going along
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Lots of pasta,
That
lots
boy.
of pizza in
That
my
boy.
diet.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You are the best, man. I appreciate you so much coming on. I can't say that enough. I can't say that enough. So we'll try to wrap things up just a touch here. But as is our practice here with our guests, we like to give them an opportunity if they like to give a final thought, a closing little notion here before we wrap things up. So Justin, go right ahead. What's a close for you?
Okay, my close would be, so anybody who is fighting cancer now, the future, it sucks. There's no doubt. And if you ever, you know me, you can find me. If you ever need someone to talk to, I am here. I will talk to anybody about it, and I'm more than happy to listen.
Beautiful.
Give you my advice.
Beautiful.
Because I understand you are not alone. That's my final.
Choose life.
Choose life.
Amen.
Choose
Amen,
it.
Amen. Justin, thank you.
You're
I mean
welcome.
that. Thank you so much. And thank you all for spending some time with us and for listening to We All Have Shit. Remember that even though we always have some kind of shit in our lives, the best we can do is stay positive, have faith, and help where we can. So, until next time, onward.